Well, good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, December 7th. It is a longtime friend of mine's birthday. One of my dearest friends from college. Today is her birthday. It's also another friend of mine's birthday. My navigation's going to talk too. So I am headed to a tattoo appointment at Lucky Bella. So I haven't been there since June. Just because I've been spending my money on failed gas line repairs. Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, December the 7th. It is one of my closest friends, or two of my good friends from college's birthday today. It would have been my wedding anniversary had I gotten married out of college like I had planned on. Thank goodness I didn't. And it's also tattoo appointment day. Yay! So I am headed to Lucky Bella Tattoo. Many of you have, if you've been with me for a while, you have seen me go to my tattoo appointments before. We are working on filling in part of my leg. My left leg is all nighttime things. So we're working on my calf right now. There is a red fox and a yellow-crowned night heron that needs to be filled in. I don't know what else we'll do today. And I'm taking the phantom skull to Sherry to give to her as a gift. So I hope she likes it. I'm sure she will. I was listening to a podcast this morning, the Skeptic Metaphysician podcast, and one of the things the lady said really stuck with me, and it was talking about how do we cope with all of this terrible thing that's going on in the world right now, and all of the fear and all of the uncertainty. And I have unplugged myself from a lot of this simply because I try to stay informed, but I cannot just continually, and I follow a lot of people who talk about it, so I have to just kind of check out from social media from time to time. Not because I don't care, I deeply care, and the problem is I probably care more than I can do anything about. And the host asked her, what do you do about these horrible things that go on in the world, and how do you deal with that? And she said the only way that me as an individual, that I as an individual can deal with that is in the face of terrible things, act with extreme kindness. And that really stuck with me. I try to act with kindness, but I can also get very caught up in anger and grudge holding and frustration and be impatient with people. And so one thing that I'm going to try to make an overt attempt at for the next few weeks is extreme kindness. Try to act, even when I feel impatient or frustrated or want to be angry, I'm going to try to step back, act with some empathy, and act with extreme kindness. Now, that's not to say that racists or homophobes or transphobes are going to get extreme kindness from me, because they're not. But people who are fearful, people who don't understand, who are ill-informed, people, I feel like that extreme kindness could benefit them. You know, even if they're strangers, I'm going to try to act that way. Try. That's the thing, right? It's called a practice. Joel said this the other day in yoga class. It's called a practice for a reason. It's because you practice it. And sometimes we do well and sometimes we don't. And we always try to do the best we can on the day of. And some days that means I can balance on one foot in airplane pose. And some days I cannot. And, you know, you just have to do your best. So, anyway, so I am headed down. But I thought that was really interesting and a message that I needed to hear, because I have been caught up in a little bit of a grudge holding situation, and I need to let that go, because it's not benefiting me, and it's not resolving the issue with the person. And I don't know that I'll ever be able to resolve this issue with this person, so the only other option I have is just to not let it affect me. So extreme kindness is always where I'm going to try in my practice to act from. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Omen Days, those of you who might be interested in that. So I'm going to do a separate video and probably post that separately today so that people who want to participate in the Omen Days can do that. So be looking out for a Crafting with a capital C video. Well, I'm going to tell you, the endorphin crash after being under the needle for 6 hours is real. I didn't make it as long as I wanted to. I wanted to get to 5 o'clock, but I had to, at 4:30 I was done. Once I get cold, my pain tolerance plummets, and I was having to lay on my stomach a lot, and it was hurting my back the way I was having to lay because she was working on the back of my leg. We got the fox and the yellow crown night heron colored in, so they're done. But then she started adding the stuff on the back of my calf, and I knew I was going to have to lay on my stomach, but I was done. I was like, I can't do this. I went out and sat in the car for like 10 minutes and turned the heat on full blast. Usually my endorphin crash means I get really cold, and so I'm like can't get warm cold. Like my teeth are chattering, and doesn't matter how many clothes I've got on. It's the kind of one where you need to go sit in your car in August and don't turn the air on for a few minutes. That's the kind of heat I'm looking for, like lizard heat. I think the next time I go, I'm probably going to try to get me an electric blanket and take it with me, because they let you take blankets and pillows, and you know, us long timers that are there all day, they let us bring whatever we need to be comfortable, because the more comfortable we are, the better we sit. And I did fine. I wasn't moving around a whole lot, but my tolerance level just plummeted about 4:30, and I'm like, honey, we're done. I can't do any more. But she loved the skull. She was very tickled with the phantom skull, so that's awesome. And I drove home. I stopped and I had food at home, but this is going to sound weird, but like a greasy cheeseburger tends to get me what I need to make it home. I should have stopped right after I got on the interstate. There's an exit where there's a McDonald's, and I normally stop there, but they don't take the app anymore, and so I waited till I got all the way to Adkins, and that was a mistake. I think that's part of the reason why it was so hard this time. Plus I was freezing cold when I got in the house, and of course had to let the dogs out, and I lost track of Wally, and Wally, for those of you who don't know, is a notorious road runner. He will get out of the fence every now and then and run down the road, and I'm afraid he's going to get hit and killed by a car, because several years ago I had that happen with a dog named Extra. But he was in the house. I guess I just missed him going back in the house, but I was meandering around there out in the dark because I didn't have my good flashlight with me, calling for him, and he was in the house the whole time. So I wasn't thinking clearly. And of course Simon is right here wanting me to pet him. I shut the dogs out of here for about an hour and a half and let me kind of get myself together a little bit. I need to drink some more water probably before I go to bed. But I'm real pleased with how my tattoo turned out. But I mean, the endorphin crash is real, y'all. Part of the reason is because it hurts. Tattoos hurt. I mean, I don't care what anybody says, and I can't tell you the number of people who've asked me, seriously, did that hurt? And I'm like, yes, it does hurt. It does hurt. I mean, but to me, that's part of it. I mean, if it were easy, everybody would have them. There are parts that hurt more than others. Like today, she worked on the back side of my knee, like in the crease of my knee. That was pretty spicy. And then down toward my ankle. Now the rest of it wasn't too terrible. I'll be honest. The rest of it wasn't too bad until I got cold, and then it was all bad. But the parts we had to work on today weren't too rough. What I'm dreading is when we have to work on the inside of my thigh. That's going to be spicy, I'm afraid. But anywhere where the bone is close to the surface, it's going to hurt more. So like ankles, elbows, knees, those kinds of things. Big muscle groups tend not to hurt as bad. Plus, you hydrate before you go. I mean, that's one mistake I made one time when I was having trouble with my ulcer, and I'd been sick the night before, so I was super dehydrated, and that was a mistake. Don't go, you can't cancel at the last minute, but you need to do your best to be hydrated when you go, and make sure you've got a good night's sleep, and make sure that you've brought what you need to be comfortable. So I take pillow and a blanket and a book and a knitting or crochet project, and depending on how I'm sitting, and I wear very comfortable, extremely unfashion conscious clothes because I want to be comfortable. But anyway, so I'm home. Talked to Joel for a little bit. They're setting up in the Fort Smith Mall, kind of in the concourse of the mall. There's several crafting vendors that are setting up there this weekend, and hopefully they'll make a little bit of money. He's going to go up tomorrow morning and look at a house. His oldest daughter and her husband are buying a house, and he worked in construction for a lot of years, so he's going to look it over for them. He's already kind of gave a thumbs down on one they were looking at because it needed too much work for the asking price. But they've saved up a nice down payment, so good for them. That's amazing. And so he's going to go up and look at that, and then work in the mall until 8 o'clock tomorrow night, and then it's about an hour drive home from the mall for them. So anyway, so I am I'm just gonna probably read a little bit and go to bed early. I mean, well, I'm in bed obviously, but I'm gonna sleep a little bit early. But I do need to drink a little bit more water because more water is always better in this case. So anyhow, yeah, I'll check in with y'all tomorrow. Bye bye.